Hello! With this part of the guide I will explain blocking at Triple Trouble on Elementalist. Remember that you can find more general info in the first video, which is linked in the description below, as well as the written guides. You can block all X and husks and possibly some of the AoEs on Core Ally, or use one of the Elite specializations. Catalyst, the End of Dragon specialization, has access to one more invulnerability than the others. Weaver has some extra evades, so it would be my second choice. But all of them work about the same way, only the way to avoid spins is quite a bit different. And as for all classes, the way certain skills or other mechanics work could be changed with game updates. Let's start by looking at some class mechanics. It may be worth mentioning that as Ally you can only use one weapon set. While you can have weapons in both sets equipped, you will not be able to change them in combat. You do, however, have more than one set of 5 weapon skills. By attuning to the 4 elements with your F skills, you can have 4 different sets of weapon skills from the same weapon. The ones we will use the most for blocking are Earth and Air. If you decide to use Tempest, the HOT specialization, you will be able to overload the attunements by using the same attunement skill a second time after having attuned to it. Depending on your trait choices, this could grant you some stability, stun breaks, and possible other effects. After overloading an attunement, it will have a higher recharge time. On Weaver, you can be attuned to 2 elements at a time. When you are attuned to one element, let's say fire, and you attune to another element next, let's say earth, your first 2 skills will be the ones of the new element, so earth skills, and your last 2 skills, 4 and 5, will be skills of the old attunement, so fire skills. The third skill will be a special skill as a mix of the 2 attunements. For blocking, we will mainly use skills 4, 5 and maybe 2. So all you need to know about attunement swapping on Weaver is that not all your skills will change to the new attunement. An easy way to deal with this is to keep swapping between air and earth only. Now let's have a look at the single skills and traits Ally offers before we will then get to actual blocking. Weapons. The one weapon you always want to use is a focus in your offhand. On air, you get a 6-second big AoE reflect with skill 4, Swirling Winds. On earth, you get a 3-second reflect on skill 4. This will be blocking right on yourself only, just like the invul skills. And you get a 3-second invuln with skill 5, Obsidian Flash. If you play Weaver, go with a sword as main hand weapon for the extra evade on skill 2 on earth. For other specializations, you can take any main hand weapon. Utility skills. For your healing skill, just any is fine, so take whatever you prefer. As utility skills, you want to have Mist Form, which is a 3-second invuln, and Conjure Earth Shield. When you use the skill, you will place one Earth Shield on the ground, which will stay for 30 seconds and can be picked up by yourself or others. You will be holding a second one in your hands. This stays for 30 seconds as well. While you are holding the shield, you will have new weapon skills. Skill 5 is a 3-second invuln. Skill 2 is an about 2-second single attack block, which can be used to evade spin attacks. Your third utility skill can possibly be changed up to preference. I usually go with Arcane Shield as a block for wide spins and stun break, or Armor of Earth for stability and a stun break. As Tempest, taking Aftershock is an option to get a 4-second reflect, but you will not need the extra reflect. On Weaver, you can take Twist of Fate to evade spins and as a stun break. This skill has 2 charges. For your Elite, there are again different options. Catalysts should take elemental celerity. This will refresh the cooldowns of every weapon skill of your current attunement. You mainly want to use this after having used Focus 5 on Earth to get an extra invul skill. If you only want to block X and no husks, you could possibly use this elite with your air skills to reset the cooldown of Swirling Winds. If you play Weaver or Tempest, or without elite specialization and Sylvari, go with the racial skill Take Root. This has a very high cooldown but offers another 3-second invulnerability as backup or for taking out extra AoEs. Note that the Tempest Elite Rebound shows that you will get Magnetic Aura, which is a reflect, if you use it on Earth. However, you will get this reflect after quite a long delay, so do not try to block with it. You have much safer ways to block X. Traits. For blocking, you do not need any specific traits. There are a few traits that can help you by reducing cooldowns, or when you are more experienced, you can even go for more damage with, for example, the fire and air trait lines. The most interesting choice in traits will be the elite specialization. As mentioned before, you can block fine on core ally. You may need to dodge to avoid spin attacks, which means you need to reposition yourself afterwards. Take Catalyst for the elite skill Elemental Celerity to get another invul skill. The trait Staunch Auras will get you stability when you gain an aura. This can be used for wide spins as long as you have some more defensive stats to not go down. You can go with Weaver to gain access to Sword and the Twist of Fate utility for more evades against spins. Keep in mind, this will change the way your attunement swapping affects weapon skill swaps. As Tempest, you can use the Gale Song trait, which will work as auto stun break, and with Harmonious Conduit you will gain access to stability by overloading attunements. You can use the stability to not dodge wide spins, but to safely survive this, you should take some more survivability from your stats. For the other trait lines, you could use Air with the Fresh Air trait. This will make you able to directly swap back to Air after landing a critical hit. If you want to rely on this, you may want to get some more critical hit chance. The Earth trait line is another good option for some more extra defense and to reduce your Earth skill cooldowns. Other trait lines can be taken instead. Blocking all X and husks. Here comes the most interesting part. How do you use your skills to block an Elementalist? Remember that you need 4 seconds duration to block an entire spit. X can be blocked with both reflex and invulnerability and have a 40-second cooldown. Husks on the other side can only be blocked with invulnerability and have a cooldown of 80 to 90 seconds. Also as a reminder, these are the skills you have to block with. Focus 4 is a 3-second reflect and Air 4 is a 6-second reflect. Focus 5, Mist Form, Earth Shield Skill 5 and possibly Take Root if you play Sylvari, each say they make you invulnerable for 3 seconds. But they do not actually all have the same duration. Mist Form and Take Root only last long enough to block 2 part spits. Focus 5 and Earth Shield 5, however, can block an entire spit if timed correctly. The timing of these skills needs to be 100% precise to be able to block an entire spit. Someone who is more experienced with blocking can try using only Earth Shield Skill 5 and Focus 5 to block spits and save the other skills for AoEs. If you are still learning to block, better consider all your invuls to only last long enough to block 2 part spits. I will do this in the following. When you want to block all eggs and all husks, you need to start with one of your invul skills when the worm can spit both eggs and husks, also called double spit. This will be the case at the very start of the event and later when both cooldowns are ready. You have 3 invul skills to choose from. You can technically use them in any order. I'd still recommend using Earth Shield for the start, as casting the shield makes it a bit slow if you wanted to use it as the second of 2 skills. You can precast the shield when you know that you will need it soon. Start on Earth, or as Weaver, start on Air main, Earth secondary. So first attune to Earth, then to Air. When the worm starts its first spit, use Earth Shield skill 5 for example. This can block the first and the second part of the current spit. For the last part of the spit, so the last husk or the last 4 eggs, you will need to add another skill. If you see 3 invulnerable messages per spit and with that are blocking eggs, use Earth 4 as reflect for the last part spit to block the last eggs. You do not want to waste another invul skill on this. If you see 1 invulnerable message per spit and with that are blocking husks, use another invul skill for the last husk. You can choose between Mist Form and Focus 5. For the second spit, if the worm spat eggs just before, it will now spit husks. You will have 2 invul skills up. If you started with Earth Shield, this will be Focus 5 and Mist Form. Use one of these 2 to block the first 2 husks and the other to block the last husk. If the first spit was husks, the second spit will be eggs. You have 2 options here. Either you can use the remaining invul skill and Focus 4 combined, one after the other to block the egg spit, or you can swap to Air and use Focus 4. Be aware that by swapping to Air you will lose access to your Focus 5 for a while. That's why I would only recommend swapping to Air for the second of the 2 spits. Or, if you use Focus 5 at the very start, you may swap to Air on the first spit if it's eggs, and then use your utility skills, the Earth Shield and Mist Form, to block the husks of the second spit. You can stay on or swap to Air for the egg spit that will follow in between, while husks are on cooldown. Make sure to swap back to Earth in time. While you do not need your invulnerable skills for husks, you can use them for blocking AoEs. Do keep the husk cooldown in mind to not use your invulnerabilities when they may not be ready again in time. Also, you can pick up your second Earth Shield for the extra skill 5 and a personal white spin block on skill 2. Blocking eggs only, or possibly 1 or 2 extra husks. If you have a Condi team to kill husks, check this with your commander to be sure. You only want to block eggs and maybe 1 or 2 husks, but not all 3 of them. To only block eggs, you want to start with Reflect when the worm spits. For this, you can start on Air and use Focus 4. As long as you block eggs with it, you can wait on Air for the next egg spit. If you use it on a husk spit, you will notice this when you see the husks flying. You can then use a combination of Earth 4 to not waste an invul skill that you can use for AoE blocking, and one of your invul skills, like Earth 5, Mist Form or Earth Shield skill 5. To block 1 or 2 husks, you can activate one of your invul skills when the worm is about to spit the second or the third husk. As a final note, please keep in mind that you can swap around the order you use your skills in quite a bit. And when you feel safer with the timings of spits, You can also swap attunements more often for access to other skills, like for example Sword 2 on Earth for evades as Weaver. You can also try timing your invul skills to use Earth Focus 5 or a Shield Skill 5 to block entire spits. There are too many options to mention them all here, but you will figure out a way that works best for you once you start blocking. Have fun with blocking on Elementalist if you decide for this class. You can check the written guides in the description or ask me directly if you have questions or are looking for more info.